Hello, so I have a card game and I want to make it. So where do I even begin? So I will say this card game started out in high school. I started making the cards, and then I even printed them out using makeplayingcards.com, and it was like this whole world of creatures of these doodles that I created a lot in my time in middle school and high school. I would just doodle on a bunch of papers. I would doodle on a bunch of different like random like homework assignments, pieces of paper, anything that like I got bored, I would draw these little creatures. And so I was like, you know what, I should put them into a game. And so I started making Iggy's World, the trading card game, and that was the name that I wanted to go with, and I stuck with it for so long up until this point, and then now I'm thinking of changing it. But I thought I wanted to, take you guys on a little adventure through my creative process, and then hopefully if anyone watches this, I want to get some feedback, and I want to get some like ideas on how to improve it, on how to like change some of the mechanics and stuff like that. So, all right, so this was the original deck of cards of all the different creatures. And you might notice that each one has their own card type as well. So how it originally worked was that there was no resources whatsoever, and I wanted a card game where you can just pick it up and play it whenever you wanted, and you didn't need all this extra dice, you didn't need all this extra tokens, and all these other stuff. I just wanted cards, just cards. And so how you would get creatures on the field was that these little blue orbs tell you how many turns you had to wait in order to actually have that creature. And so this would be 2 turns, so you would probably be like 1 turn, 2 turn, okay, I'm ready to go. But I did a lot of play testing with it. These were originally on note cards. This is why they're so long, was because they were originally on note cards, and then I transferred them into digital. And I added a lot of color to it and stuff. And basically I was like, this was the first iteration, so it was very simplistic, very like, this was all the cards. Like, what I'm holding in my hand, this was all the cards that you could have collected if I turned them into packs and stuff like that. I had some rule cards and stuff like that. I had action cards that you could play, and all that stuff. But I was like, this is confusing. The original game play was confusing for a lot of people. They were having trouble keeping track of, what turn am I on, and what creatures can I play now? I don't know. And you had like a total of 3 creatures you could play and stuff like that. And I was like, you know what? Scrap this idea. This is not going anywhere. So I shelved it. But then I was like, later on, maybe I'll pick this back up, because that's what I do with all my projects. I'm like, you know what? I'll shelve it for now. Maybe at some point I'll pick it back up. So roll around to later in high school. After this was about like junior year, I want to say, of high school, was when I transitioned from this to a different one. So these were the original cards that I made for the card game. They were like the simplest you can get. I was like, how simple can we make it? And I made it as simple as possible. So no costs, no costs whatsoever. It's literally just highest number wins. There you go. But I changed the mechanic a little bit, where you actually had to strategize by picking. So you would draw 3 cards, and then you would place them upside down like that. and then you would go from left to right, bam, 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 bam. So like you would have cards that do synergies, and they would like, oh, if a card was flipped over before this one, it would do this ability, or it's like, oh, the card after this gains an extra attack power or something like that. Again, very simple, but it was in the right direction because it was easy to follow. No one had any issues with learning how to play. It was literally one of the easiest games to learn how to play. And I still kept all of these characters and stuff that I made, and I really wanted to make this like come to life a little more, get some more creative characters in there and stuff like that. Doris was actually a card that was based off of a stuffed animal of mine that I still have to this day. Yeah, her name was Doris, so I turned her into a card. That's actually quite a few of these cards was like a pun that I came up with, or it was like, oh, I saw something and I just turned it into a card, and stuff like that. You had like super rares and all this great stuff. And I was like, okay, this is in the right direction. It's keeping the same thing where you don't need any like like dice or coins or anything like that. This is all you need, is just a deck of cards. But it was still missing that like trading card aspect and deck building aspect, because it's really hard to like build a deck around something if you're only able to draw 3 cards at a time and play them immediately. So I was like, there's not enough oomph in there, if that makes any sense. So again, got put on the shelf, and the next one took another year or 2 for me to pick this back up and start going back into it again. And this is the most recent version, and you'll notice that I do have a video on this version on my channel, and that is an old, outdated version because I'm going to remove those cards from the Game Crafter, and I will now start anew again. This game is like a phoenix. Literally, it's just like starts, dies, starts again, dies, and then starts again. Oh, hello, Bobby. This is my little cat, by the way. So when it comes to my newest iteration of the game, I'll give you a little sneak peek into what the mechanics ended up being. All right, resources are now a thing. Resources are now a thing, but each resource has their own like card type. Like each card type has their own resource that you need. So this needs like 2 electricity in order to be played. This needs 3 electricity in order to be played. Or for a water card, you need like 4 waters in order to be able to play it. And I kept the same black and white design because all of these characters were first drawn on with Sharpie. That's how I make all my characters, is that I Sharpie them on a piece of paper, and then there's no tracing beforehand, there's no like pencil or anything. I literally just take a Sharpie and start drawing, and these are what comes up. And so I kept the black and white aesthetic from this one on out, and I'm gonna continue that with the new version. But for this version, with that resource mechanic in mind, it was just way too complicated. Like, I know it sounds like I'm making a more big of a deal out of it than most people would, but Magic the Gathering is one of my biggest inspirations when it comes to card games, and the problem I've always had with the modern cards of Magic the Gathering was how much effing text is on one card. I do not need to read a novel in order to understand what a card does. I need to be able to know what it does right when I get it in my hand. Like, I do not want to have to spend half of my turn reading a card. That's not a successful use of time, and it distracts you from the actual gameplay of the game. Of the game itself. And so I'm like, there has to be some sort of way for me to make a simpler one, not have all these different resources that people have to keep track of, because that means people weren't able to make decks of multiple card types and stuff like that, which is what I wanted. I wanted people to mix and match, make their own decks, combine a bunch of different creature types and stuff like that. But it's kind of hard to do that when every creature type needs their own resource. So I decided I need to do a major update for the design of the card, the mechanic, and how you play the game. And so now we have what I've come up with for a new version of the same game. I'm going to be calling it a different name, Iggy's World, the trading card game. It's just, I realized that the story behind, that I created behind these cards, and the tales and stuff like that of how these cards came to be, what these creatures are, and all that stuff. It didn't make sense for Iggy to be the main character. Iggy was the main character for a very long time, if I can find him, but Iggy was the main character for a very, very long time, and I would keep having him be the main character. But the problem is that, like, he just wouldn't do much. He was just like a little pelican, like toucan sort of looking bird. But he didn't have any significance to the plot of the overarching story that's happening in this card game. And so I was like, it doesn't make sense to name the game after him. Obviously, I'll still have him in the game because he was my first creation and what spawned this whole card series. But it doesn't make sense for him to be the focus anymore. So we're ditching the name, and my work in progress name right now is called the Mage's Curse, or the Mage's Truth, or something along those lines. The Dark Mage's Truth, which is the name of a different card in my game, the Dark Mage, which is the main character of the story. So that makes more sense. I'm also changing the background of the card, so that way it doesn't say Iggy's World, the trading card game. It's going to be more stylized. It's going to feel more unique and authentic. And I'll show you my work in progress cards in a separate video. I'll share with you guys the designs that I've come up with, the stuff that I've drawn out and have digitalized and stuff like that. Yeah, but anyway, to move on from this, so now we've completed the saga of Iggy's World, the trading card game. This is start to finish where it is so far. And my newest mechanic, this is how the new game is going to work. Then the newest mechanic is going to be like this. Everyone starts off with 5 resources on their battlefield, or on their board, is what I'm going to call it. And then they have their deck to draw from. I'm just going to grab like a random stack of them. Then what you do is you draw 5 cards from your deck. Everyone starts off with 5 cards. And then at the start of each turn, you add an extra like energy resource. So everyone's first turn, they start off with 1. They can choose to spend it or not. If they don't, they move on to the next one, and now they have 2. They move on to the next one, now they have 3. And then they spend these resources on the creatures themselves. So for this one, Gil the Fisher, no cost or anything like that. No cost whatsoever. So I could place him on the board and not have to use my precious resource, and save that for next turn. Now, when it comes to the creatures themselves, they have two stats. One is their attack, the other is their recycle value. Recycle value means that you have the choice during your turn to discard it from the board and gain that many resources. So let's say it's this one has 3. So if I discard it, I gain 3 of these resources, and now I have 4 resources to use. And then if someone wanted more than 5, they aren't allowed to. So that's why you want to be mindful of what cards you recycle at what time, because let's say I have 4 already. Do I really want to recycle this when it has a recycle value of 3 when I'm only going to end up getting 1 for that? That doesn't seem like an appropriate use of my materials, but it depends what phase of the game you're in and stuff like that. You'll have different options depending on what cards you want to play and all that stuff. I'm bringing action cards back slash items. They're going to be items in this game, not actions, but in this version, the most recent version, there are actions, if I can find them. There are action cards where, like this for example, where something happens to aid you or to take down your opponents, and I'm going to change it to items because that feels like it makes more sense. You can actually use it in the game, and it makes sense within the context of the game as well. And then lastly, just to cap things off with like the basic mechanics that are going to be retained throughout. I'll have a separate video that actually like goes in depth with the whole gameplay and stuff. Don't worry. I'm just giving a quick overview right now for it. But the last little bit is that, again, to stop people from having to use pen and paper and tokens and dice and all this stuff, how do you win? You win by making your opponent discard their entire deck. So anytime that a creature attacks you and you don't block it with one of your creatures, whatever damage value it has, so using Gil again, it's 2, so I would discard 2 cards from the top of my deck into my discard pile. And so the game is trying to use your creatures to attack your opponents so that way they discard more cards. And then once they run out and they start their turn and they can't draw a card, game is over and the other player wins. That's a basic overview of everything that has to do with Iggy's World. Stay tuned for my next video. I'm going to post all these videos at the same time, just to have them all available to you at once. But that's it for like a basic overview of what the heck is this game, what am I trying to do with it, and where is it going to go. So let's hope that it goes somewhere, because I want it to go somewhere, and I really think that this is a good future for me in terms of, you know, finding something that I really enjoy, card games, and being able to supply that to so many different people, and show my like fun, silly artwork with all these fun little characters. And yeah, hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next video.